Hello and welcome to The Dirt and the Divine. I'm Krisha Young, your host, an executive growth strategist, author, and advocate for living a fully aligned, unapologetic life. This podcast is built on the philosophy that every beautiful life has its roots in both the messy and the magnificent. Here, we share raw and real stories from incredible individuals who faced life's toughest challenges head on, dug deep into their souls, and took radical personal responsibility for their lives. They did not run or hide from their struggles. They explored their emotional landscapes, owned their experiences, and emerged authentically, living in joy and alignment. Through these conversations, my hope is to inspire you to think, wow, if they went through all of that and found happiness, so can I. This space is about embracing the journey, the dirt, and the divine, because together they shape a life worth living. Please note this podcast is for general discussion only and is not a substitute for therapy, legal, or professional or financial advice. Let's get started. All right. I'm so excited for today's guest. An abundance mindset combined with structured, proven money system is the key to creating lasting financial success. Francesca Rea, a wealth advisor and prosperity coach, has discovered this powerful approach and now shares it with her clients. With over 20 years experience, she guides women to align their finances with dreams while navigating financial challenges and life transitions. Her process empowers women to take control of their wealth with confidence, creating prosperity on their own terms with a blend of expertise and warm, approachable style. I will agree with that one. Francesca makes financial empowerment accessible to all. So today's episode, we're going to be discussing prosperity on purpose. Hi, Francesca.
Hi, Krisha. I'm so excited to be with you again.
I know. So fun, so fun. Um, so Francesca, you were a client of mine for a period of time, a couple years ago, I think now. Um,
Mhm.
I really enjoyed working with you and watching you just blossom. I mean, you were already awesome, but there were just some stuff that needed to be kind of like, shaken free so that you can just
Absolutely.
really emerge into, your fullest potential that you were having a hard time sort of like grasping at the time. And just hearing where you are now is amazing. And so I would love for you to just like quickly share with our listeners and our viewers about that particular journey. And then we're going to dive into these 5 steps for prosperity on purpose. I can't wait to talk about that. And then tell everybody all the fun ways that they can contact you and learn more about money
Mm,
alignment.
amazing. Thank you so very much for having me here, Krisha. I was super excited when you said you were looking for guests. I'm like, yes, 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 yes.
Yeah.
Because I feel for where I've been and where I am now, I have a message to share with people and women in general. So my journey, even though I've been an advisor for over 20 years, my journey, I feel, started about almost 5 years ago when my husband was having an affair and I found out very unexpectedly. And it was quite a traumatic experience for myself and my family. And I really had a hard time with the whole thing because I believed in marriage and I believed that he was my soulmate. And how could I destroy my family by not being together? So I tried to fix the marriage, go through marriage counseling, and just realized to the end that this was never going to work. And he was never going to change. And I needed to move on. So I finally made the decision and I felt like amazing the day I decided that I was done. And I danced in the rain that night. I was telling somebody after I left, I started pouring and I just danced in the rain with a big smile on my face. And here I am today. And you were part of that journey, right? At the very beginning, where I was just starting to realize like counseling was great, but I wasn't getting anywhere with it. And I found a lot of growth in working with you one on one because it really gets to the heart of who I am and some of the things that I was missing in my life.
Mhm.
One in particular were boundaries. If you
Yeah.
remember these conversations that we had, I didn't
Mhm.
even know what a boundary was until after we separated. Sad to say, growing up, there weren't boundaries. And so it was really sinking into what does that mean? And how can I protect myself? I mean, I'm still learning, but I feel I've come so far and I don't even recognize myself. I used to be triggered by him so much. I don't know if you remember that too. And yeah, now I just laugh. I've come so far from all of that.
Mhm.
And another thing that we worked on, which has been really interesting today, back then, I remember you talking about the levels of awareness and how
Yeah.
you see a car crash and you're just like, whoa, what's happening? And I really started taking myself to that place of like, okay, what is happening? Being aware of how am I reacting? What is this person doing? Or what's happening around me? And how is that impacting me? Um, yeah, like today, I was just telling somebody like what's going on in the world and money. I have just so separated myself from all of that that it doesn't I'm not allowing it to phase me anymore, which is again huge in my
Oh,
development, and that's just a short period of time.
yeah. Yeah, I want to dive into that statement a little more in a minute because that's really important when we're working on our money mindset to not pay like really kind of pay attention to what's going on at a global level because there is like a lot of scarcity and a lot of fear and a lot of like people who don't understand what abundance really means and what it really feels like, that if you get caught up in that you can like just lose your sense of like what success within yourself and get caught up in all of those stories. So we'll come back to that one when we do your 5 steps. Um yeah, that's so awesome. I loved working with you and like that journey, you're right, into boundaries and the levels of awareness that you're talking about is my pattern release coaching framework where we start with awareness. There's those 5 steps. We start with awareness, which is like, oh, okay, oh my God, what the fuck? I'm here again. Like, what is this thing that I keep like facing? And then what you were talking about there is the observation or the car crash moment where you're like, wow, look at me doing the same thing again. Look at me being triggered by my ex-husband again. Look at me being, whatever, not having a boundary in this area. And then the next phase is like clarity, where you're understanding why you're doing that. And then maybe you're even able to start to verbalize, like, wait a minute, I need to put a boundary here, or I need to like do something a little bit differently here. And it's when we start getting really brave in that moment of like, wait, you can't treat me like that. That's not okay, yo. Um, and then there's personal responsibility or ownership when it finally becomes like embodied, and then that like it's just like this is just part of who you are now, and so you're just never going to be that in that type of relationship ever again. And then the last is refinement, and so you get to keep exposing yourself. All of us get to keep exposing ourselves to that spiral staircase that we're going up, and it's like, oh, okay, I still have weak boundaries in this area, or oh, I like need a little bit of work in this area. But it's like that. I find that that's just like the same cycle over and over and over again, no matter who it is, no matter what we're working on or whatever. It's just those 5 steps. So thank you for mentioning that.
No, it was great. It was so helpful for me, and I always use the phrase "a new level, a new devil," right?
Yeah.
So it's that refinement piece where it's like, okay, I'm good here on this side, but it's like, oh crap, but I'm not really working on it very well over here, and that's really the space that I've been in recently, and it's quite amazing how it's coming about, and just I'm loving it.
Yeah. So do you want to share with us a little bit about like the year you've had and the success that you've had, and like now that you've had all this clarity and been able to create these new ways of being for yourself, like how has that shown up for you in your day-to-day life?
Right. Well, I think the first thing was just recognizing, and these are kind of my 5 steps that I'm going through as well, is that money is a tool. Like when people would say that to me, again, a financial advisor, I'd be like, "What the fuck is that?" Like, I was like, "What the hell? Money is you invest, right?" Like, that's what I knew it to be. And then when I really stopped and listened, like, what does that mean? Money is a tool. It's just a means of having a transaction with someone. You buy something or you receive it, but yet we attach so many meanings and stories around money. And when I realized that, I was like, oh, it's just a tool. Yes, the markets go up, the markets go down. It's the law of rhythm. Things come and they go, and you give and it comes back to you. And it's just needs to be in circulation. And once I kind of realized, I'm like, oh, okay, well, that's how I need to treat money and be grateful for it when it comes in, even if it's, another coach I was working with, 10 cents, be grateful for the 10 cents as well as the million. And so I really try to embody that piece and instill that with clients. So that was one thing. The second thing that worked for me this past year was shifting my mindset in having a positive frame of mind, prosperity mindset of, what are the thoughts I'm thinking all day long? What are the feelings I'm feeling? And what actions am I taking? And I cleaned up a lot of my habits around that, around a lot of things, right? Like trying to get up early and having a routine in the morning. I never had a routine. I thought it was great to not have a routine. Now I have a routine. I meditate, I journal. I don't even know if you remember all these things I never used to do. And clean up my space, make sure I'm lighting a candle like I have now, and just different beautiful habits that bring me joy. And that was another thing I was learning and sinking into is what brings me joy and forget the rest. Or
And it's
just
intentional.
mm,
It's
mm.
intention too. What I'm hearing there's intention. I'm intending to have a positive day. I'm intending to start my day with a sense of peace and calm. I'm intending to make my space feel, pretty and abundant, and I'm intending to create peace with like a candle. That's really powerful.
And making routine, because if you're not doing a routine, you're not creating habits. And
Mhm.
so another thing I instill is every week I get together with myself. I have a money date
Mhm.
once a week, every Friday morning, and I
Yeah.
sit down with myself and I pay whatever bills I hadn't been able to take care of. I look at my bank accounts. Is everything going to be okay for this week? Do I have to do any shifting in my spending plan? And really just sitting down with my own self and my money and being grateful for what's been coming in and how my year played out or the quarter. So I think that's really important as well, is making sure and alleviate, I was gonna say alleviating fear, doubt, and worry.
Mm,
When you're intentionally paying attention to things, those
yeah.
things disappear.
Yeah. And I know that there's probably a lot of people who are in avoidance with their money, like looking at their money dates, all this kind of stuff. In fact, is it okay, can we like kind of dive in there a little bit, because I'm
Mhm.
curious how you would walk somebody through the very real transition. There's a very real transition that happens here between when you are shifting your mindset from that scarcity, which is usually based on something real, right? Like it's real for a lot of people that maybe money's a little tight or whatever, right? Especially for entrepreneurs where there's like that fluctuation in income and things like that. Okay, so we have basically I'm saying I don't want to gaslight the reality of a lot of people, right?
Yep.
And then because there's that like bypassing that can happen, or where it feels or it senses that it's like happening, like, well, we're just going to be positive about our money, we're just going to put positive, 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 but the reality is that like crap, like this is like where I am, right? um and I remember my phases of like shifting my mindset from seeing the reality, being convinced that that was my reality, and like, you don't understand, like I'm actually not making this much money, I'm actually here, like this is the reality of my situation. And feeling that like some of this abundance mindset stuff was like not really honoring where I actually was, right? But then I needed to understand that like speaking out those things was almost like continuing the cycle. And it
Yes.
was like I just needed to sort of like trick my mind a little bit into like, no, wait a minute, there is something better available for me. There is more financial abundance available for me. And like you said, setting up these like routines and these habits, looking at money like it's a tool, that non-attachment to it, hugely important.
Hmm.
Yeah, so I'm curious like how you would walk somebody through from feeling like that scarcity into something that's more abundant.
Well, if you're talking about a self-employed individual, I believe, it's really getting in tune with who you are and what you're doing.
Mm,
And so for me, I've really been honing in on that. Yes, I've been doing this for 20 years, but I've now know that working with women in transitions is who I want to be with. And so I'm really starting to feel it. Like I think about it, these are the women that I want. I'm intending these are women that I want. And I continue to focus in that direction and listening to my intuition. So I don't know if that's woo-woo or that's a lot for somebody to take on, but I really believe listening to that little voice
yeah.
is so huge, right? And the one other thing that worked for me was I just slowed down so much to the
Mhm.
point where I wasn't doing. And that's another thing that I learned is just to slow down, stop doing and that I gotta go, I gotta go, I gotta go, I gotta do all this, I gotta do this, I gotta do this. This that was the industry that I'm in. Is like, you don't have 15 appointments every week, then you're not gonna do well. It's like, well, what the
Right.
hell? So I'm trying just to slow down and really just spend time with myself and say, well, who do I really want to work for? How do I want to show up today? And who would I want to be? Who do I want to serve? And listening to that voice. And it for me, I can't really explain. It's been working. It's really just sinking in and knowing that and loving myself too, that I am important and that this is where I am and this is what I need to be and this is um accepting that I need to be where I am today. Does that make
Mhm.
sense? Like
Complete sense. Yeah.
yeah, like where I
Yeah.
am today is where I need to be.
Mhm.
And then if we're talking about money, I think what's critical is being self-aware and honest with yourself,
Mm.
but not in a bad way. So my experience, I had a financial awakening, and this was probably after you and I were working together. I got myself in a bit of a pickle. I had some debt, and I had been toying with this idea of working with a money coach. So she does the Profit First program. And I
Right.
was very interested and I thought, okay, let's just see what this is about because I had no clue. I'm a financial advisor. I should know this, right? So it was more curiosity, but also on the other side, like, maybe there's something I'm missing for myself. And when I went through the process and we talked about our money beliefs and our money habits, I realized that I was spending money for my children to love me because I
Ooh.
was just coming out of this divorce, right? And I was having a not great relationship with my daughter and my son. And so if I want to be that great mom, yay, I'm going to spend money on them and we're going to do this and we're going to do this. And I realized, oh crap, like that is not a good reason to be spending my money on. And so when I became aware of that, it just changed. And now I have a spending plan in place, which is the fifth step. And last step is I am now more mindful with my money.
Mm.
I'm not spending money to feed that need or that, I don't love myself. I'm not a great mom. So let me spend money. I've had other women tell me I spent money because I was unhappy about my job. And so I'd go to the spa and I'd shop and I drink and go to fine fancy restaurants, but I don't have the money to do that. But I was trying to feed something inside of me that wasn't happy.
Oh my gosh, yeah, I've been there. I've been there for sure. And I used to go shopping. I used to shop a lot. And like I was so unhappy, but I didn't know it. And I hated my job. I didn't my relationship wasn't fulfilling, you know what I mean? And I would just like this is when I worked in Toronto downtown and I would just like on my lunch hour, I would just go and I'd wander into all the shops in the underground and like, oh, there's like $300 spent on like I don't even know what, you know? And then I would like bring my clothes home and I'm like, I don't even like any of these clothes. Like, I don't even want any of this stuff. And I would never return it. So I didn't like get my money back ever. Yeah. And then I just purged everything like a few years ago, before moving to Vancouver or whatever. Like I purged, actually, it was probably in 2016 or 17. I just, because I was like 2 years into being like an entrepreneur. And I just went through my closet and I was like, nope, and I'm never doing this again.
Yeah.
I've kind of gotten back into it a little teeny tiny bit, but only for fun now.
Yeah, and there is that balance, right? And that's sort of
Yeah.
what I've been learning and working with clients on. There's a balance between what brings me joy, what makes me happy, and having a money system in place. So, talking about perhaps maybe at a different level, when you're at that level, like I am for myself, and I had a great year last year, it's like, okay, well, I have brought some money in, and now I'm being more intentional and mindful about, well, what do I want to have now? What's going to make me happy? And I bought these really expensive boots that I loved. And I'm not talking about having women do that, but it was just something that I was intentionally like, you know what? I love these boots. These make me feel good and
Yeah.
sexy because that's
Yeah.
another part of my human design, right?
Yeah.
And, my boyfriend's eyes just lit up when he saw me in these boots. And I'm like, oh, look at that. And so
Yeah.
I'm trying to be more mindful and not really spend to fill a void.
Yeah. 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 That's so important. And I think this void is something that a lot of women don't even know that they have.
I didn't. I
Yeah.
agree with you. I agree with 100% because I always thought I loved myself.
Yeah.
I don't need this coaching, right, Krisha? I don't need it. I
There's,
got everything.
well, there's two things that a lot of women, when they first start working with me, they're like, I don't know that I need this. And I have great boundaries. And I'm like, okay, let's see. Anyway, yeah, keep going.
Yeah, like, I've got my shit together. I got everything going on.
Right?
No, I did not. Once I started like being on, it's the integrity. That was
Mhm.
super important to me in a relationship.
Mhm.
What I forgot about is the relationship with myself.
Yeah.
Ooh, I'm tearing up, right? So being integrous with who I am and what I want um, has been really, really the place I've been sitting in the last few years.
Yeah, that's huge. So let's talk about that a little bit. You mentioned before we started recording that your 5 steps is balancing out that feminine and masculine energies together. And I want to go there because I do think that, you know, like especially as women, but a lot of men do this too. Like there's just this like you're last on the list, you know? And then and I think like for me, when I was first starting to do this work, the thing that was knocking loudly was my intuition, was my like higher self or whatever you want to call it, to basically say you are out of integrity. Like you are out of integrity. You're not matching here.
Mm.
And for me, it got so uncomfortable. It was so uncomfortable that I was like, fuck, I can't do this anymore. Like I can't. Like I was in I had a good marriage. Like we weren't, it wasn't a bad marriage by any means. It just wasn't the right marriage.
Mhm.
And like there were just things that were not right. And I sat there with this whole thing while I've got my 2 kids and like he's not that bad of a guy. And like but then I'm literally like speaking on stage and doing workshops and coaching women. And I'm like, how can I sit here and tell these amazing women to like be integrous and to, go out there and live your best life and all of those things when I'm sitting here closing my laptop down at the end of the day being like, God, like I'm really unhappy. And that
Mhm.
was like a huge catalyst for me, was like I can't do this anymore. It's too uncomfortable for me to be in this like space of lying. It felt like I was lying. And I
Right.
can't lie.
Neither can
I
I.
cannot lie. It's hilarious. It's
But we
really,
were lying to ourselves, right?
yeah.
And I think that's what we
Yeah.
forget as women. Hmm.
Yeah, yeah. So let's talk about that a little bit more. Like,
Mm.
how does this, like, how does this balance out in the masculine and the feminine, and like, where was that, like, how was that journey for you?
So going back to the fact that I was working through the Money Fix program with April, who I work with now, and just realizing that the profit first method that we were working on together is structuring your finances, structuring your money, and that it's got places to go. So, like, money needs to go somewhere. And so we structured, I'm being self employed, a tax account, my vacation account, my going on conference account, my emergency reserve. And so having these accounts set up, and when I get paid, money flows automatically into each one of those areas. And then, it's a whole technical thing, but a system of then giving myself money to spend on restaurants, food, personal stuff. And this is all I've got every week. And this is just a beginning structure and working within cash rather than debit cards and being mindless and unconscious of our spending, which is what we do all day long, right? So now I've got only this much money to spend, and it's like, I didn't feel restricted. It was a little hard at the beginning, but I realized, okay, hey, we want to go out for dinner tonight, kids. Let's do it. And we did it once a week instead of 3 times a week. But I didn't feel like I was restricted. Again, I was just more mindful. Like, I did the other 2 nights because I was tired, I was lazy, I didn't plan or whatever. But once I started having better structure, better sleeping, better habits, I felt better about myself and enjoyed cooking and only going out once a week.
Mhm.
So I'm sharing this because this is my beginning journey. And
Right.
so I have this system, which is the masculine energy, that's automatic now. And so when I get paid in my money dates, then I'm like, do, 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 do. Yeah, everything's taken care of over here. I've got all those things sorted. Now, like, here's the rest of the buckets. Now what do I do? Right. And
Right.
again, I'm more mindful. It's like, okay, I'm going to invest, or, oh, I've got to take care of this for my children, or so there's just a system in place. So now I don't have to worry about that. And it's
Mhm.
the flow and the feminine of, all right, I get to lean back now and let's make money. Let's bring it in. Let's spend the money. There's that feminine piece of it all.
Yeah, I love that. So for anybody who's not um, entirely sure what we mean by masculine, feminine, I'll say my opinion on that, and then I would love for you to, like, fill in the blanks here or share your opinion on this. It's not boy girl. It's not man woman.
Right.
It's another way to look at it as yin yang, right? The yin and yang
Yep.
symbol. It's just like, it's just opposites, right?
Yep.
And it's just two different types of energies. And if we're looking at it like masculine or feminine or whatever, the it's just simple words to help define what these two different types of energies or states of being or whatever are.
Mhm.
And in the quote unquote masculine, that's that structure like you talked about, right? And the best way I like to describe it, I don't know if you can see out my window right now, but those are
Looks beautiful.
mountains, right?
Yeah.
Those are the mountains, and that little blue little old thing right there, that's the ocean.
Ah, love
Yeah.
it.
Um, and so I like to describe it like that. Like, the structure is the mountains, it's that stillness. It's that thing that just kind of stays there and doesn't really move that much. It's the century. And when we think about, as women, heterosexual women, I know I love it when my man is just like solid, and he loves it when he's just solid. He feels the best when he is solid and he's century and he's just there.
Yep. Yep.
And what that allows me as a feminine woman to do is just kind of flow around and be like bling, 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 you know, and that's polarity in a romantic relationship, right?
Yes.
And it works really, really well for some couples. And so what we're talking about here is that, like, solid structure. And so in terms of money, now we're looking at the silos of where the money is going, right? Like the like tax and vacation and this and that, budgeting, having a certain amount or whatnot for each. And then the feminine is like that softer, flowier, like the ocean, right? Like the feminine can like rush up like a wave. And so if you get a wave of money coming in, it's like, okay, I am not overwhelmed by this because there's containers for my money to go into, like
Exactly.
wash up, go into this cave and that cave and that cave, and then,
Yep.
oh, yay, maybe I can go out to dinner 3 times this week.
Right. Right.
Right. And having that like fluidity and that flow, which then again, going back to the relationship conversation for a quick second, when my man is sentry, then I don't have to think, which is so nice. I mean, I love thinking, I have a brilliant brain, but sometimes I just don't want to think.
Exactly. And I think we overthink, right? I know I was in that. Like I was constantly thinking, 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 go, 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 do, do, do. And
Mm,
now I have to remind myself just to lean back and say, no, like, what do I want? And where do I need to go? And listening to my intuition. Oh, she
yeah.
says, go up here. Hey, no, go for a walk. Oh, call this person. And then that's where the magic starts happening. Um, and I have that money foundation set here for me so I can leap off of and come back to when I need to.
Mhm. Yeah, exactly. I love that. I love that so much. Do you have anything to add to the masculine feminine conversation? Just
Well, so two parts to that. So I believe that it's the setting up the money foundation. So it's the cash flow, right? What's coming in and what's going out. And it's also a plan too. Like that's part of what I've been doing for 20 years is financial plans for people. And that is just your roadmap, right? Like now it's talking about your goals and what do you want to accomplish and how we're going to get there. But it's setting that foundation so then we can let you go and be and have joy and happiness and I hardly talk about retirement in my conversations anymore. It's almost like what do we want to do, where do we want to go, what do you see in your life, like if you had to wave a magic wand, what does it look like? And so those are the different conversations I'm having now with people. And yeah, I had one person, we just talked about this yesterday, a client of mine, she's like, I don't know what it was, Francesca, but you were just so easy to talk to, and we just had a conversation. We weren't, you gotta do this, you gotta do that, you gotta put it here, you gotta buy this, you gotta buy that. She's like, that was the last of the conversation. I go, yeah, I've always said that. Like, it's all about you and what do you want? And I'm here to guide you on that journey. And so I just love what I do.
I know, I can tell. And it's so awesome. And I love that about you, that you do love your work so much. And it's really important, I think, for that. I think that's what helps keep us so integrous. Is definitely loving our work. And you're writing a book, right? You haven't finished it yet?
I'm in the middle of it, and it's all
Okay.
about the things that we talked about.
Yeah.
So sharing that with everyone, and I want it to be practical too, because we read a book, put it down, walk away, and that's the missing piece to me is the habits. And so, listening to I'm sure you heard Bob Proctor, right? He's read Think and Grow Rich every day for whatever many years, and I was like, really? Why would you do that? But I'm now understanding, it's just continually creating those habits, new thoughts, new actions, and new processes, new levels, new devils, and making your life happen. Because why are we here, Krisha?
Yeah.
Right? Isn't that what you do? You help us find our purpose and why we're here and get yourself out of your way.
Yep. It's true. I know. I know. And feel joyful while doing it, feel happy and fulfilled, while doing it too, you know?
Mhm.
And I see that in you now, like just like such happiness and such balance. I love
And
that.
it's not easy. And so I want the listeners to know that like this is not something that's happened overnight for me. It's probably obviously not something that happened overnight to you. And it's committing to the journey of what you want. And now I see clearly of why I'm here and why or what I want out of my life for me, myself, my children, my community, and to inspire others.
Yeah. And I think also in that is knowing that like a lot of people when they first start, they're like, well, I just want to be rid of this thing, or I don't want this anymore, and there's this like getting rid of, and this like sense of like once I get rid of this, then everything's going to change. And it's like it's that's not really how it works. It's like it's loving that part of you, it's understanding it, it's like hearing what it has to say. And cleaning it up, like cleaning it up and like turning it from the shadow to the light, and then just recognizing that like it is this spiral staircase that we're on. It's a journey, and accepting that, right? Like not like it doesn't end, it's not like
Right.
done, like you work with a coach for 6 months and then you're healed forever and ever, amen. It doesn't work like that. Yeah. Like
Yeah,
not
I
even
just
close.
remembered that. Yeah, the shadow parts of yourself we talked about too. And I think I was a deer in the headlights when you started talking about that. I was like, what? But now again I'm sinking into those ideas, and I really also want to say like the reason why initially we connected was on your human design work, which
That's
has
right. Yeah.
made a big impact not only to me, but we did it with my children's human design, and what a difference that's made in my relationship with them.
Mm.
Um,
Tell me more about that, actually.
mm,
I'd love for you to share a little bit more about that. So, earlier I was looking up your chart, when you were talking about slowing things down, because I was like, what's your authority? Um, and you have solar plexus authority, you have emotional authority. I don't know if you remember us talking about that. But I just recorded a podcast yesterday with a friend of mine, Hannah, and we were talking about decision making and authorities. And she's sacral authority, and I'm solar plexus authority. And we were talking about the whole thing around solar plexus authority or emotional authority people, which is more than 50% of the population. We really need to slow things down. We really do. And we don't live in a society that supports that. We live in an act
mhm.
now, buy now. You're like bad at business if you don't make instant decisions and things like that. And there
Yeah.
are people who can do that. There's a lot of people who can make instant decisions, not a problem, whether that's a yes or a no or whatever, they just already know. But for people like us, we need a little bit more time. We need to slow things down, so I love that you touched on that, in terms of like one of your steps, like let's just slow this thing down for a quick second and just like everybody stop. Like,
Well, and I remember a conversation about this, and it's just coming back to me now. And I used to tell people this all the time, and it's like, Francesca, you got to make a decision on what restaurant to go to. And somebody says, "Do you want Thai?" And you're like, "Mm." And
right.
you want a pizza. You're like, "Mm." And you're like, "What about sushi?" You're like, "Oh
Yeah,
yeah."
yeah.
And I was like, "Oh." And so I've been trying to continually to remind myself that's how I need to make my decisions, is like, ooh, what's gonna light me up? And what's like, oh yes, right? And I do forget that once in a while. So thank you for reminding me about that. How
Well, and
juicy that
that's your
is.
sacral. So just to get a little technical here, that's your sacral responding. So as a generator, you're a manifesting generator. And so as a generator, you have your sacral defined, and I have my sacral defined, and your daughter, from what I remember, is a projector, and your son.
Mm-hmm.
I think both
Mm-hmm.
kids are projectors. And so neither of them have their sacral defined. So they have a very different process in their entirety, in terms of energy levels and recognition and decision making and all sorts of stuff. And that I remember that being what really important, between
Oh,
how you were communicating with her and shifting some of those things. But what you were just describing is a sacral response. So that's the yes,
okay.
no. So asking those like questions helps us tune into our sacral response. And then with emotional authority, we have an added layer there on top of it, which is where we need to kind of go through a bit of a wave, or what's called a wave, or um, I like to also call it like a ticker tape over time, especially for bigger decisions. Dinner, nah, not that big of a decision, but do you want to move? You know, do you want to date this guy? You know, do you want to, like, you know, the bigger things, right? And it's like, you're like, you're like, I do want to move. I do want to date this guy. But then it's like, over time, how many yeses do you still have? How many no's do you have? Right.
Right.
That's that ticker tape over time. And the only way that you can tell that is if you slow everything down. You know, let's slow
Mhm.
this down. Let's date slowly. Which is
Yes.
like so hard
And
for
for, and for me, the slowing down is listening to that intuition, because there's been many times over this wave of dating where
me.
I've just slowed down. I was in a quiet space, like something may have come up, and I'm like, I don't know what to do here. And when I
Yeah.
slowed down and I just stayed in that sort of questioner space, the answer came to me. I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
And then I proceeded with that decision.
Right.
And well, what didn't you know? It worked. Like, and I've been really sinking into that. It's like, okay, what decision do I
Yeah.
need to make here? And it's not slowing down by not doing anything. It's just slowing down to hear
Yeah.
what your voice, your internal person is saying, the direction you should go or thing you should make or whatever decision. And yeah,
Yeah.
that's been so valuable this past couple of years.
Yeah. Oh, good. I'm so glad that you said that. And then so tell us a little bit more about how it's helped with your relationship with your kids.
So understanding her human design, you would tell me, well, Francesca, you just come bowling in and hey, I got a question for you. And you would barge in her room and start la 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 la.
Yeah.
And then when she's not responding the way you want her to, you're like, "Rah," and then we start fighting, right? And so,
Yeah.
I realized like I just, approach the door, I knock, can I come in? No, I walk away. There's no story, there's no argument. I just know in this moment she's not ready to talk, and it has nothing to do with me, and it's her as a projector, and that's made a world of a difference. And then when she actually wants to talk to me, she just talks to me, and I stop doing what I'm doing. I put my phone down and I'm just like, okay, and I'm here to listen and let her go. I still
Yeah.
have a long way to go, but we're working on it. But it's just is really has shifted our dynamics.
Hang on a second. She is a projector. Okay. For a second there, I'm sorry. For a second there, I was like, wait a minute, is she a manifester? No, she's a projector. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, yeah, and she just needed to be recognized. I remember there was a lot of overriding of her own sense of self in there, right? Like rightly so, you're her mom, right? And so like as parents, we see things, but sometimes we can like force our own opinions on our children
Oh,
and things like that.
huge.
And then, yeah, I think I remember that was some of the things that we were shifting. It's like, ask her opinion, for things, because as a projector, she's got all of this insight in her to be able to share and see, and know like more of that on her own, rather than having, and especially the manifestor generator energy too, because that manifestor spark and the generator go, it's a lot. For a
Yes.
projector, right? It's a lot of energy to kind of deal with if you don't know what's happening or why it's happening, you
Yeah.
know?
It was huge. I swear that that was like I needed that. I don't know where we'd be if I hadn't had that little nugget of information. So I highly suggest people to do it on themselves as well as their relationships with either the children or their partner, because even you say you understand your partner and now you know how to work with him and dance with him and
Yep.
have a relationship with them. And it's just,
Mhm.
yeah, it's
Oh my gosh.
pretty
It's
amazing.
huge. And vice versa too. Like, him, and it's funny because we were just talking about this yesterday on this podcast about, so he's a splenic projector and I'm an emotional generator. And he's so highly attuned, being a projector, just in general, he's so highly attuned to me. And like it's so intuitive. But he understands this decision making for me. And like the other day, he asked me something. He was like, "Do you want such and such?" And I was like, I didn't have an answer. I was like, I don't know. I don't know what my answer. And he just like, and because he's like splenic, he's so fast. He's so fast, and his decision making is like insane. And it's in, it's out, you know? And I'm like, okay. But he was like, okay, no answer means no. And so he took the heavy lifting off me, you know, in
Mm.
terms of like
Ah.
needing to make a decision. He was like, nope, Krisha doesn't have an answer. The answer is no. Never mind. We'll address this later. And I was like, thank you.
How wonderful is that? Oh my gosh, it's so
I don't have
beautiful.
to think about anything right now. Thank you. um,
Love
that's
it.
awesome. So, okay, let me just go back to my notes here. And like, do you feel that you have walked us through these 5 steps? Do you feel that you've talked us through these 5 steps here?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
So making money, as you know, is like 80% mindset and 20% plan or structure. So
Yeah.
yes, they're both important. And I feel I've come to a place where I understand that they're both important. And my
Mhm.
position is to create that foundation for people and women to have that set first. And then, the rest of it can be created.
And did you find that the more you started to create these structures for yourself, the more money came in? Like, did you find that it
Absolutely.
just happened like that?
Absolutely, because I let go. I disengaged, right, with this need to figure this out. Oh my God, where is this supposed to go? And so, like I said, it's just automatic. Like I just check. Yep. Okay. Yep. Good. And like, so instead of being in like, ugh, what am I doing? Where is it going? More debt. Oh, and just being mindful. Yeah, great. Got a system. Got my spending plan. I've got other things. So when money comes in, I am happier and I'm grateful and I've got things under control and settled.
Hmm.
And there's no fear, there's no doubt, there's no worry.
Yeah. I love
Not all like this, maybe a few
it.
things once in a while, but I feel much better. I'm in a happier place
Mhm.
to leap from.
Yeah. I love that. I love that so much. Yeah, I mean, are we ever like totally free of fear, doubt, and worry? No, because we are human at the end of the day, and we do still have an amygdala. And we are still, oh, we were going to go back to the collective consciousness
Okay.
conversation, right? About uh like not paying attention to what's going on in the world
Mm.
and the world's scarcity. Let's touch on that for a quick second. So you said
Ooh,
that you stopped sort of like engaging with that, and I know I have too. I remember actually, okay, so another question I wanted to ask you, if you have a few more minutes.
of course I do for you.
Okay, okay, awesome. Um, so one of the things that I know that has been challenging for me over the last couple of years, despite like having done a lot of this work, is being like sucked into the vortex of how expensive where I live is.
Right.
And getting and I needed to move earlier on in this year, or last year. It was not my choice to move. The landlords needed to take back their place or whatever. It happens a lot here in Vancouver apparently.
Mhm.
And I was like, dang it. And so I was forced into the rental market and forced to pay like a ridiculous amount of rent, and I had no choice. Like I've got my kids. I had to live somewhere. I didn't have parents I could move into or anything like that, you know? And so I got caught in this like web of like paying way high rent. And then the stress of like how expensive everything is now. You know what I mean? Like everything is just insane. Like something that costs like $3 only a couple years ago is now $7 or $8, right? And so I do find that pinchy a lot of times, because it's like, like I want to just buy a charcuterie board sometimes. And it's like, why is that costing me $150 now when it would have cost me like maybe 60 before, you know? So it's like trying to wrap your head around the rapidity, the how fast those things went up, you know, in cost, right? And I one of the things that I started to do, I actually think I have it here somewhere, a sticky note. Yeah, I saw you here. Sorry for moving my laptop, but and it's backwards, but it says, I am above inflation.
Oh my God, I love it.
I'm above inflation because I was getting so sucked into this whole like everybody freaking out about the cost of everything. And I was like, shut up, just go away. But to the point that we were making earlier, it's a reality. It is a
Yeah,
freaking reality right now. And just like that buffer is like lower and lower and lower now, or skinnier. And so I started to be like, I am above inflation. I'm above inflation. It doesn't impact me. It doesn't affect me whatsoever, you know? And any of these things that are happening in the money, like I just don't pay attention to any of it. And
right.
that might be naive or something, but it also at the same time, it's like, okay, I'm aware that there could be some trade stuff going on, but I'm not gonna get so sucked into it that it becomes my reality. You know, it's like
Exactly.
y'all can go over there and do your thing. I know I probably will be somehow impacted by it, but I'm not gonna get sucked into the fear of it.
Exactly. And you know, I like this analogy that another coach had was like these things, fear, doubt, worry, kink your money hose. Like if you
Ooh,
can
yeah.
envision money like water flowing and you know, you got fear, the money's not going to flow anymore because you're sitting in this fear and oh my god, what am I going to do? Oh, scarcity and oh, you know, cash out my investments and oh my god, and you're making all these decisions in fear. It's kinks that hose. Whereas if you know, yeah, I'm aware, you're recognizing, right? We're not bypassing it. I'm aware of it, but I'm not going to let it make me afraid. And maybe, I don't know, I don't buy the charcuterie board every week. I still can enjoy it maybe once a month. You know, like I still want people to be mindful of spending. Maybe I don't shop at Loblaws anymore and I go to No Frills. You know, I'm still able to buy the same things. It's just going to cost me a little different at No Frills versus Loblaws. Um, so yeah, I mean, I came from when I first started in this business 20 years ago, almost 21 years ago. I was self-employed, commission, zero income. Didn't make the best choices at that time, but I had to go through everything line by line by line by line just to see like, oh my God, I can't pay my bills. And, you know, we still wanted to have a bottle of wine. We just didn't buy at that time. Wolf Blast was expensive. You can imagine that 20 years ago. We just bought something a little less, right? We had wine, but we just paid a little less for it. So, you know, that could be something that people start
Yeah.
taking on if they feel like things are tight crunch. But I love um your phrase there, I'm above inflation. I love it. I
Yeah.
love it. That's great.
Yeah. 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 I don't
It's
know.
getting
I think
inflation,
I
right?
would not buy headache wine. It's
What's
not
that?
headache wine. Cheap wine is headache wine. No thank
Yeah, I know. I'm just going back 20 years ago, right? If people are
you. I know.
listening, like what can they do to
Yeah.
still enjoy? So it's almost like I
Buy
want
wine.
to still enjoy my life,
Yeah.
but how can I do it that's going to fit right now where I'm at?
Mhm. Yeah, yeah. And I think I agree. And I do think that like there is something to this, the how rapid everything just went up, like so fast. Like we haven't even had a chance really to acclimatize. You know, it like people's pay has not gone up yet in
Right.
commensurate with how fast, you know, those interest rates and all of those rates and stuff like that went up, you know. And so
Mhm.
there's a lot of people, I'm sure, that are just like reeling from all of this still, you know. Um,
Yep.
maybe who were totally fine pre-COVID and now are like, what the heck? Like I never had any issues with money and now all of a sudden, right? And so it's like I do feel that, you know, from a big picture sense that you know, we really need to think about things differently. We need to like start to reframe things and you know, create some new habits and recognize that, you know, there is a lot of money out there. There's a lot
Absolutely.
of money out there, a lot,
Right.
you know, and quite a bit of it hasn't really been in circulation a lot because people have been in fear, but that's the thing. It's like we have this whole collective consciousness that is so rooted in fear that if we stopped being afraid, there would be more. There would be a letting go of what people are hoarding, so that there would be more in circulation. There would be more financial abundance, right? And so I think like we all have that personal responsibility to like start creating like a new conversation around this, and a new set
Absolutely.
of like energetic sensations and feelings within ourselves that like you know feel more safe where money's concerned.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a
Wow.
real thing the last few years. I feel it. Maybe I'm just more aware of it, but I've been getting it from a lot of people and during COVID and now this and yeah, we
Yeah,
just all need to take a deep breath. I
I am above inflation.
love it. I love it. That's amazing.
um Francesca, this has been so fun. You've got a quiz.
Yes. So if you're curious to know sort of where you're at with regards to your behaviors and some of the things you're doing through money, you can go to my website, francescaray.com, and there's take the behavioral quiz now. It's only a few questions, nothing crazy and, having to stress your mind out about. And it comes with a little report and gives you sort of an idea of where you stand and some ideas on what to take moving forward. And if you wanted to have a little bit more of a discussion, I always have my calendar available for like a 15-minute discovery call, and I make that available to anybody.
Amazing. Yeah. And you're just so kind and so smart and elegant and so and what I love about you too is that you've been through it. Like so you can have empathy and you can have compassion and you're not looking your nose down and you've embodied the feminine, and I think that that really makes a big difference, especially for other women at like an unconscious level, even like not dealing with a woman who's so like locked in that like other type of paradigm, like forcing and not listening to intuition and all of that, like you just having that embodied within yourself. I think makes you like top tier where this is concerned, because then you can just speak from experience and speak from a place of like much deeper knowing where all of this is concerned, which I think then offers like a sense of trust, to your clients. So they're very lucky to have you.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. I love it. Thank
Yeah.
you. You were
Yeah.
part of my journey, and I'm so grateful.
Yeah. Well, thank you for being here. I appreciate you. And tell us that website again.
francescaray.com. They can
Okay.
go there, lots of information. They can download some freebies there as well, and more to come for this year, 2025. So look forward to it.
Right. Are you on socials at all?
Yeah, I have an Instagram. I think they can find all that through my website. And yeah, look forward to hearing from you.
Okay, awesome. Well, thank you for being here.
Thank you.
Yeah. And thank you as well to the listener and watcher of the Dirt and the Divine. I hope you found today's episode to be inspiring and eye-opening and heart soaring. We're actually recording this on Valentine's Day.
Yes, happy
It's the
Valentine's
hearts.
Day.
Yeah, yeah. And this is all about self-love too. And
Absolutely.
yeah, loving
Mm.
yourself. And if you want to take a little bit of a deeper dive journey with me, you can go ahead to krishayoung.com and schedule an awakening session and see how I can help support you find your purpose and boundaries and all the other fun stuff. And you can also find me on Instagram at the Krisha Young. That's where I share my fun stuff. I'm a little unhinged on there.
I love it. I love it. Every time I see you, I'm like, ooh,
Yeah.
Krisha.
All right, everybody. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you, Francesca.
Thank you. Have a great day.
Bye.